Well, hey, it's good news. That means I hooked you on the first session. Welcome to session 2 of our Leadership Unleashed Masterclass. Once again, Todd Bishop, your host, taking you on this journey. And over the next several sessions, we're going to get to know each other just a little bit. We're going to grow closer and closer together in community. So here's what I want to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you simply, would you do me a favor? Would you follow me on social media? At Todd R. Bishop. I'd love to get connected with you, get to know you. We can share this journey together. Well, I'm really excited about this module today in our masterclass because I really believe it's going to teach you some basic principles that are going to help you think long term. Most leaders think short term when we should be thinking long term, because here it is. Here's the lesson. Leadership is slow cooked, never microwave. Let me say it again. Leadership is slow cooked, never microwave. Think about the microwave. I don't know if you ever thought about the microwave. I don't usually like to use a microwave, but a microwave was created on accident in 1945. It was an experiment gone wrong that became right. Now, when you think about life, you don't want your leadership to become accidental. You want your leadership to be intentional. And that means you've got to think the long game in leadership. Most leaders think, well, what can I accomplish in a year? I think we ought to be dreaming about what we should accomplish in 10 years or 20 years of our life and leadership. Leadership is slow cooked. It's never microwaved. In other words, leadership takes time. I meet a lot of young leaders who want to become all that in a bag of chips in 1 month, 1 week, 1 year. But it's not about where you start. It's about how you continue to work, how you continue to serve, how you're faithful. And as you're faithful, you eventually become fruitful. And as you're fruitful, that slow-cooked leadership that's on the inside always eventually comes out. I first started my leadership journey in church. I continue my leadership journey in church. But the journey in me has been a lot stronger. The doors God's opened up for me, the opportunities God's given to me, the relationships God's allowed me to have has been slow cooked. There are some leaders that they instantly become successes overnight. That seems to be the cover of a newspaper or a magazine that seems to celebrate this success, but real success doesn't happen overnight. It takes place over time. And so in your leadership journey, you've got to ask yourself, am I wanting to get somewhere too quickly? Because I have learned this, that when you're elevated too quickly, you can fall even more rapidly. Let me say it again. If you elevate too quickly, you can fall even more rapidly. So many people want instant success, but that rarely happens. In fact, I don't know if you ever thought about the beginning of many of the major companies in our world today, but several of them started in garages. I mean, think about Google. It started in a garage. Microsoft started in a garage. Amazon started the concept in a garage. What's the point? Find a garage. Find a garage somewhere and come up with a creative idea that might just change the world. You've got to constantly think about your life from the vantage of not just today, but over time. Not just today, but over time. You got to figure out your daily habit, your routine, your skill sets. So often leaders, they want to be here, but they haven't developed personally to support getting there. And that's why leadership is slow cooked. It takes time. Now, I personally love pot roast. It's one of my favorite meals. I love pot roast, but pot roast put in a microwave is never going to taste as well as when it's put in a slow cooker. And when it's put in a slow cooker, all of the flavors begin to come out. And those flavors then create a beautiful tapestry of deliciousness. Now, I might be making you hungry, but I want to make you more hungry for leadership. Think about your life put in the slow cooker of leadership. And as you're put in the slow cooker of leadership, all the flavors of your life, all the flavors of your business, all the flavors of your ministry begin to come out. And then guess what? To those around you, you're a little bit better, you're a little bit smarter, you're a little bit stronger. Why? Because your life has been tested over time. Your leadership has been tested over time. In this masterclass today, I want to give you a few keys to making sure you last long in leadership, because the longer you last, the more influence you can create. So here's key number one. Be who you are publicly, who you are privately. This is an important key because a lot of people, they don't grasp this key. They want to be one thing with the popular and another thing with the unpopular. They want to be one thing with the elitists and one thing with the normal folk. The reality is the greatest way to your leadership is to be who you are publicly, who you are privately. So no matter who you are with, you don't have to fake it till you make it. You could just be you. Here's what I know. You're the only you God made. So be the best you that you can be and watch where God takes you. So understand, first key, it's pretty simple. Just be you. Second key to making sure that your life lasts over time, your leadership lasts over time, is always growing. It's always finding an opportunity to grow into the person God's designed you to be. You don't want to be, I've arrived, I've made it, I've become. No, every leader, doesn't matter who it is, John Maxwell, it could be Sam Chan, it could be any great leader that you aspire to be like or know. Every leader continues to grow. I remember one time sitting and I got to meet John Maxwell and talk with him for just a few seconds. And one of the most interesting things about John Maxwell that I learned really quickly is he cares less about himself and more about you. It's very interesting. Every time I wanted to ask him a question, he threw it back at me. Todd, tell me about your church. Tell me about your life. Tell me about your family. Every single time. What was he doing? He was absorbing. He was like, what are some of the keys that have helped your church become what it is today? He was literally taking in information. Now, he's considered the leadership guru of all of them, and yet John Maxwell, with an insignificant leader like me at the time, saying, I want to grow from you. What was John demonstrating? He's demonstrating this key principle that leadership is slow cooked. John Maxwell is still learning today. The moment you think you've arrived, you have a microwave mentality. But when you recognize my whole life, I'm being prepared for what I'm called to do, that's the slow cooker towards your potential. I really believe that everyone has what I call full redemptive potential. Full redemptive potential is what you were, what you are, but what you will be. Most people get stuck in what they were or what they are, but we've got to have vision to what we will be. That takes time. So first key to having your leadership slow cooked is just knowing who you are, being who you are, publicly, privately. The second key is really just being that honest person with yourself and keep growing, recognizing I haven't fully arrived. The third key to your continual growth is investing in other people. The more you invest in others, the more people want to invest in you. They want to deposit truth into you. They want to deposit principles into your life. But if you're selfishly absorbing but never giving, you can only absorb so much. So if you want to keep growing, you've got to release some of those learnings. You can create books or podcasts. You can write articles for leadership magazines, or you might even create a masterclass. Don't put your life in a little bitty box of absorb, absorb, absorb. At some point, you have to release some of that to other people. And when you release your gifts, your talents, and you invest in other people, watch how that law of reciprocity, you get to receive even more because you've made room. See, when you think of your life, you got to think of it not just short term, you got to think long term. It's not about a microwave mentality. It's about a slow cooked process to your development to becoming everything God designed you to be. Leadership Unleashed is not about unleashing you so that you can immediately become everything you're designed to be. If that happens, man, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to sing with you. I'm going to dance with you. I'm going to shout with you. But in reality, most of us, it's going to take place over time. The first 15 years of my ministry, I was unknown by anybody. Nobody knew who I was. No one sought me out. I wasn't invited to preach at the great stages of churches or environments or conferences. But now I look at all the time that God has been using to prepare me so I'd be ready for the potential that I was about to walk in. Don't get discouraged or feel like you're less than, because God's taking his time opening doors for you. He's preparing you for what's to come. That's why in this session, you got to understand, leadership is slow cooked. It's never microwaved. Don't force yourself to push your way to the front or try and get ahead of everybody else. Let God open the doors for you. And when God opens the door for you, there's a promise. No man's going to close that door. You're going to walk, live, and become and lead in every way God designed you to lead. So I pray you take some of those keys, apply them to your life, and become everything God designed you to be, not overnight, but over time.